What's going on?
What's up, man? I'm feeling all accomplished. I did my first dual Instagram live right now.
Yes,
it was
sir.
just as easy as a click of a button. Thank you for coaching me through that. But yeah, we're here, man. Excited. Glad to see people getting on and really see if we can help some people out.
For sure. For sure, man. Well, the point of today, us getting together, is to talk a little bit about recruiting, some of the things that you're doing, to help some of your players with recruiting, some of the things that you're doing to help your players with training. So let's go ahead, man. Let's just go ahead and kick it off. Let's first off start by letting you introduce yourself to the people. We know that you're one of the top trainers here in San Antonio, doing great things. You've been doing your thing here for years, man. Just going back a little bit about our history, man. We first met back at UTSA when we were both going to school there. Shoot, man, that's been like 10 years ago. It's been about 10 years or more since we first met. So glad to see that we're both still, trying to help people out with basketball, man, and teach them about life. So for starters, man, before we jump into the meat and potatoes, go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Tell them a little bit about your background, your history, stuff like that.
Got you. So yeah, Tim Springer, obviously his name. Been doing training for about almost 15 years now, even before our UTSA meetup. Just fell in love with the player development side of it. Started Spartan Basketball roughly about that 10 years UTSA time as well. Has grown to blessings beyond that I could ever imagine. But we train everything. Well, 150 players in the program now. Everything all the way down from youngest all the way through high school, helping high school players get into college players level up, whether that be just in that 4 years of their eligibility or even get to pro. And then obviously we've been blessed to work with numerous NBA, WNBA, European players, European teams, and things of that nature. But to me, it's I love working with all players. I mean, yes, it's cool to do all the pro stuff, but I love helping the young ones just as much as a Bryn Forbes or a Denzel Valentine or a CJ Miles, or whatever that may be. So just now trying to make it through this little Corona thing and figure out how basketball can keep going with no gyms and no outside courts to go with it.
I know, man, that's tough. I mean, sometimes we take things for granted, even as simple as just going to the gym, put some shots up, going to watch players play, going to tournaments, doing trainings, all that stuff. We were taking for granted. And then, at first it didn't seem like this whole, COVID-19 thing didn't seem like it was real until they started closing down gyms. And then it's like, whoa, wait a second. You tell me we can't do our thing. We can't go get in the gym. We can't do this. And, for all the basketball community, man, I know that's when it really hit hard, is when they started closing down gyms and stuff. So now we've seen an influx of, people trying to reach out through other means to help these players, because I'm involved with the basketball game, but I'm not a player. I can only imagine what some of these players are going through, not being able to step on the hardwood. So let's jump into it, man. The whole purpose and, of what I do in my channel, man, is to help these players get exposure, help these players get recruited, number one. So I know that you work with a lot of players, you work with, and particularly you work with a lot of female basketball players, from what I've seen, more than the rest, it seems like. But what are some of the things that, you've been doing to help these players as far as their recruitment goes?
Got you. Yeah, and you're right. It did start a lot with the female side of it back when we had our Legends Club team. That's kind of expanded, though, where we're helping a lot of guys as well, especially since we've shut down the club teams. The biggest things for us is just the communication. I think a lot of players are very slow. I'm going to go ahead and kind of be kind of confrontational about it, but even kind of lazy about making their highlight film, and they don't realize that's their commercial. You know what I mean? Like I tell players all the time, like, if Nike's got a new shoe coming out, they're not just going to put it in the stores and not tell anybody. They're going to put commercials out there. They're going to put ads online. They're going to put it everywhere. And that highlight film is their ad. And then from there, I think it's a matter of just communication, having a little bit of hustle to you, having a little bit of networking to you, and getting in front of people. From the standpoint of, emails, calls, texts, whatever you can do, obviously staying within the confines of the NCAA rules, although there's more rules for the coaches than there is players.
Agreed.
But just being willing to hustle a little bit, you know what I mean? I mean, some of the kids that we've got into school, you know, I can remember one a few years back. She played for Taft, one of the best shooters in the city, in my opinion, probably one of the top 10, 12 kids coming out that year. And, you know, the thing about it was it took, I can't even tell you how many emails, how many highlight reels, not just one. And that's the other thing. They make one, and they're like, oh, I'm good. No, you got to stay recent. You got to stay relevant. You know, no college coach wants to see your film from a year and a half ago. If you were just in the playoffs, you should be chopping a highlight film right now, especially with all the time you got on your hands right now, right? If you're in the middle of a club season, they don't want to see your school highlights. You know what I mean? They want to see now, what are you doing now? Because one of the best things a coach ever told me, and I'm trying to remember who told me this, I almost want to say it's Cody Cowgill, who's now with the Future, but he was a UTSA coach and recruiter at that time for the women's team. This always stuck with me, and he told me this years ago, back when you and me were at UTSA. And he said, this is when I was starting to promote kids to college. And he said, Tim, everything's off potential. We based everything off potential. So we've got to go by what we're seeing in the evolution of a player. That's why we don't just see him one time, but we want to see an evolution, because that evolution shows us the potential. For kids the same as they were a year ago, they don't have a lot of potential. They don't have a chance for that coach is going, well, here goes a year by, and you still don't have a left hand. You still don't have a mid-range jump shot. You still can't finish over height. Well, where's your evolution? Where's your potential? Because you coming in as a freshman is not going to be the same person that comes out as a senior. Mm-hmm. And I've been able to be able to spend a lot of time around UTSA lately with the men's side, just being able to slide in there once in a while, do some pro workouts with some of my NBA guys, use the gym, but also pick their brains. And they're saying the same thing about how important that evolution is from freshman to sophomore year and what they do about that. So not to make this so long-winded, I think you got to have highlight films. You got to have a promotional of you, and a good one too, actually doing something in the all-around game. You know what I mean? Like they don't care if you shoot free throws. I'm sorry. They don't want to see 15 rebounds. Maybe if you show how aggressive you rebound or what you can create off rebounds, putbacks, or create fast breaks, maybe. But having something that's legitimate and relevant, and then as well current, and then pushing that out there. Now, it's tough because, then you got to go in there and look and say, well, what schools? I got to get all these contact information. Well, how bad do you want to play college basketball? I mean, it's not just gonna happen on its own. So either that, or man, there's tons of services I see popping up that sell you the list. I got kind of lucky. I got blessed with some friends in this industry who gave that to me, and I gave that to my players, and then I also emailed as well. But we were pounding that list constantly, not spamming, but hey, 4 months in, here's an email. 4 months later, here's an email. We just played in this big tournament, and I crushed it. Not me, but the player crushed it. They had 30 points one game, hit 6 threes the next game. Whatever led us to the championship. That's a reason to go talk to a coach. And it's more like not spam, but it's like, hey, coach, just want to keep you up to date with what's happening with me on my journey.
Yep.
And so you frame it in a way that is you're selling them what they want, is that evolution.
Well,
this is a sales game.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're saying, it's a combination, man. You can't use old film. You can't just use one film and just expect that to be your resume. And also, these coaches, man, they're real people. The staff, they're pretty intelligent. You know what I'm saying? You can't pull a fast one on them. So it's all about being real with the coaches. And like you said, man, it's all about how driven you are. As far as reaching out, making those contacts, sending those emails, sending that updated film. When you were talking about, sending your film, shoot, if you have the ability to make a highlight after every one of your games where you do well, why not just drip on them? You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the other side of it is there's a little bit of element of you throw a little bit of mud at the wall, especially if you're not highly recruited or they don't really know about you, or you're more of a D3, D2 kid who not everybody's chasing right now. There's an element of just getting out there and just blasting that email out and see who responds. But at the same time, I think players are in such a scarcity mode with this in how they promote themselves they sometimes go too thin. You know, questions that I always make my players ask before we even go highlight film or send it out are this. Number one, how far away from home are you willing to go? Two, how far away from home are mom and dad willing to let you go? And that's a real question. Don't get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Back to that same person I was talking about, man, she had offers all around the country. But D2s, D3s, but all around the country. But at that time, and at that point in time, mom wasn't letting her go out of San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
So there's got to be that conversation within family, and ultimately, hopefully, the parents have an element of understanding and respect that it's ultimately the kid's decision, because they've got to live with whatever consequences come from that decision. And that's what happened with this player, where that's why she's now in Colorado. But and she's not the only circumstance; she's just a great example of that. But knowing how far you're willing to go and how far your parents are willing, because some kids don't care; they just want to hoop, so it doesn't matter. Or some just want to see somewhere out. They've never really been outside of Texas, so they want to go see that. Some they don't like cold weather. They're true Texas boy, guys and girls. They don't want to be in the snow. I get that, right? I come from New York, so I've seen that side. And the winters, real winters, and I've been here in San Antonio, blessed to swim in April. So you got to figure out that, and then obviously your degree. You're not going to college just to hoop. You're going to college to get an education. So what degree do you want? Because a lot of times that won't line up. And don't go play basketball for 4 years and you don't even have the degree you want. Now you got to go spend more money, and you don't have a scholarship, so now you're going in debt just to go get your degree because you're done hooping. That's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
That's just pure dumb. So what's the degree? And then this is the number one that I say, okay, now we've took care of all the semantics, the math. Let's talk about the art of this. And the art of this is this. Because at some point, basketball may stop, and it may stop before your 4 years are done. So my question is always this. If you get there and basketball stops for some reason in the first week or in the third year or whenever it stops, are you still going to be happy being there at that school chasing your degree without basketball? And that's the one that kind of punches them in the head, and they go, whoa, I didn't even think about that, because all they thought about was basketball and playing and all that. And so to me, that's super important, is are you going to be happy where you're at, whether basketball is a blessing for 4 years or it's not? And obviously, there's obviously a lot more availability to transfer and do things like that and change your environment, which some people knock, but I think it's great. You know what I mean? As long as it's not you just running from a hard situation of earning your keep. But
and also
you don't have those options.
On that
Go ahead.
note, man, as far as transferring, because I transferred, when I went to UTSA, I actually transferred from University of Colorado in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
So when I transferred to UTSA, there was like some credits that I lost. You know what I mean? Because I had been going to school already at UCCS, University of Colorado. I've been there already for, over 2 years, going on 3 years or something. And when I transferred in, not all my credits transferred. You know what I mean? So you can transfer, but you just got to keep that in mind that, you might lose some credits. So that's a very valid point that you make as far as, is that a school that you want to stay at? Or do you have a backup plan? Like if you have to transfer somewhere, are they going to accept all your credits? Are you going to be able to, if you finish as a sophomore or a junior there, you're going to be able to transfer and still be a sophomore or a junior, at your next college. But
UTSA hit me with that too, off my everything from New York, especially when you transfer states, because there's so many different policies. No, I completely agree with that. And good thing for athletes, they usually have some kind of counselors and people on their side, unlike us. Where if you're just transferring and you're not an athlete, they don't always have that support system there. So that it's really good. The last thing I would say, probably with the recruiting as well, though, beyond just blasting it out to yourself or blasting out yourself, is being responsive. I can't tell you how many times I tell a player, yo, I just sent an email out to you to 500 coaches. Make sure you're answering your phone. And then I hit them up. These coaches hit me up and they're like, hey, I reached out to this player and I've texted them and called them and they're not replying. Do they really want to come here? Man, if you don't communicate with these coaches, the first thing they take that is disinterest. Like you don't want to go to their school. So it's crazy how often we could be on our phones for social media, or when our friends or our boyfriend or girlfriend hit us up and then here comes this college coach calling or texting, about to offer you thousands of dollars in education and let you live your dream of college basketball, and you don't even answer the damn phone.
Yeah.
So that's huge. Knowing that is going to be key here. And so making sure you're responsive, and like you hit it right on the head. You said it's a relationship business, and it so much is, because at the same time, they're going to make a connection with you. They're not only doing it for the business side of getting you into the school, getting you a scholarship if that's possible, whatever, but they want to know what kind of person you are, what kind of character you have. So they're going to have dialogue with you, and it allows them to feel out because, I think it was a previous player development coach of the Spurs. I was about to get a job with the Sixers. This was years ago. And I was picking his brain saying, hey, what do I need to think about? He's like, man, even more than your resume and your skill set, they want to know what kind of person you are because they're going to spend so much time with you over that span of what you're with that team. And I think that is completely relevant to these players. They want to know about you. They want to know what kind of person you are. Sometimes they want to know what kind of parents you have. Do you have helicopter parents? Do you have the parents who think they can go tell the coaches anything they want or that they know more basketball, whatever that may be? And so those things are really big in this process as well.
Yeah. Going back to not answering your phone or whatever, if coaches reach out to you, number one, that's just disrespectful.
Yeah.
If you do that. But number two, it kind of goes back to, creating that list of schools that you want to go to, because you shouldn't be sending out emails or contacting coaches or schools if you don't genuinely have an interest in going to school there. Like, you shouldn't be blasting them, because like I said, it's disrespectful, man. These coaches' their time is money. You know what I mean? And if they reach back out to you and you don't reach back out to them, well, that's probably because, you may not be really interested in going there. So I would just say, before you send out those emails, before you start trying to contact coaches, make sure that they're on your list of schools that you actually want to go to, and that, talking to the players, make sure that the players and the parents, make sure that's a school that's on their list. That way you're not wasting anybody's time, because again, also coaches talk to different coaches, you know what I'm saying? And they talk to other people just in general. So, if you're not getting responses, or, you're not being professional and stuff like that, that word might get around. So players definitely need to respect the coach, especially if they're trying to, get a scholarship to go play at that school.
For sure. And then, the other side of it too, that I think you kind of reminded me about this, is I would have players where sometimes if they weren't well known, maybe the D3s would come calling first, and they were actually better than a D3 player, or the low-level D2s where they wanted to keep pushing. Maybe it was early in the process. They could keep going, get better, send out more film, and get higher-level D2s chasing after them, or even maybe some low D1s. And they would, I would be like, hey, this school called you or this school emailed you, and they're saying that you haven't heard from you. Why not? Oh, because I don't want to go there. Okay, that's cool. I get that. But at the same thing, I always say too is don't close a door until you have one to walk through. Because let's say it's a low-level D2, and yeah, right now you think you can earn something higher than that. There's nothing wrong with believing in yourself in that manner, as long as it's realistic and you got you're confining with the people who really guide you in this process, and they believe the same thing. You should listen to that. But what if the other offers don't come? What if you're sitting waiting for this bigger school, this better school, and it doesn't happen? Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's not you. I've had players who were going to go to this one school, and then we told them, hey, we're ready to sign. And they're like, oh, I'm sorry. We were looking for an athlete this summer, and when we didn't get an athlete, we had to sign a shooter, and your player's a shooter, so we're actually going to pull our offer. But then you went and burned the bridges with these other schools because you just were disrespectful and didn't communicate with them. And now you burned that opportunity, too, to fall back on as a plan B or a plan C. So, and I agree. And me, it's just the old school. It comes down to respect. If these people took the time to even communicate or show interest in you, then do the right thing and talk, even if it is a thanks but no thanks. But, take the time to talk to them. And then you never know how this stuff plays out. You may need that school. You may need that coach in the long run. Never know.
And the market doesn't lie, man. As far as all these players trying to wait out for bigger schools and bigger offers and all that type of stuff, that's cool. I agree with what you said as far as believing in yourself. Everyone should believe in themselves and, want to go as high as they can go. But you got to be realistic, like you said, man. If you're getting offers from D2 schools or D3 schools or NAIA schools or JUCO, and you don't have those bigger schools making you offers yet or trying to talk to you yet, it's okay to try to wait out for those. But hey, you're only as good. You're only at the level that you're being recruited at. You know what I mean? So if you're being recruited at a D2 level, then maybe you are D2. And I know you want to wait for that D1 level, but if you don't have any D1 schools trying to talk to you, then maybe you're not D1. Maybe the market's not lying. And if you got a bunch of D2 or NAIA or JUCO, maybe that's the level that you are, at least for right now. Because we know that once you give it a couple of years, you play, you develop, you get bigger, you get stronger, you get faster. You can always transfer out somewhere, go move up a level if you're good enough, and if you get the right exposure. But yeah, you got to find that healthy balance, man, of finding, number one, what school you want to play for, and number two, what level you're at.
For sure. And like, especially like to piggyback what you're saying, if you're a senior in high school and D3s are calling, that's probably where you're going. You know what I mean? Now, if you're a sophomore or a young junior early in your junior year, you could level up, because I've seen that. And the D3s usually do call first, or the low levels call first, because they're usually a lot more proactive in the recruiting, because they know they got to beat the bigger and better and more attractive schools to the punch and get a chance at a relationship with you. But yeah, and to piggyback that as well, D1 is cool. D1 is honorable. Yes, chase to be the biggest you could be. I see that comment. I'm sorry, I saw the one comment. I can mention something about overseas in a second, but let me finish my thought here. But where was I going with that? The piggybacking of D1's honorable, D1's great, D1's, it's probably some of the better facilities or maybe bigger scholarships or whatever that may be. But everyone's really there's a lot of hype to D1. I can tell you tons of players I know that went D2 and even D3. Heck, I did 2 years of JUCO, and those were some of the best years of my life just playing college basketball, period. And yeah, it probably would have been really cool and some cool experiences to go D1, but it's not failure if you don't get to D1. And I hate how much of a stigma we have in this culture of college recruiting, that it's either D1 or like you're some kind of loser.
You know what I mean? That note, real quick, just kind of an interesting fact. I've seen somewhere in the NAIA division, NAIA D1, that's where Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman came out of.
Yeah, and even players that I know that went NAIA who didn't go beyond that, they still had the best 4 years of their life, and their college got paid for. Sometimes it's easier to get NAIA money than it is to get NCAA money. So yeah, and I get it. Shoot high. That's what being an athlete's about, is pushing yourself to your highest limits and shooting for your biggest goals. But don't be a sheep in this process, because ultimately the sheep don't go to school with you. The sheep don't have to put in the commitment. The sheep don't have to put in the work. The sheep don't have to be at that school if basketball stops, like we talked about earlier. So for me, do what's right for you, your family, and ultimately what's going to make you happy. You're not going to play college basketball to be miserable. You're going to college basketball because you love it, you have a passion for it, and you want to enjoy those 2 to 4 years or whatever you get out of it to really have happiness in that moment. So that can happen. It doesn't have to be D1. It doesn't have to be Duke. It doesn't have to be Syracuse. It doesn't have to be UT. So I think that's a really great point. I'm glad we really expanded upon that. Hey, real quick, just to touch on this comment, I love this.
Yep.
I actually have it, and it says, I want to know your opinion on high school basketball players from overseas. Do you think universities look at players from overseas? I'm in the Italian league, and I want to make it to the next level. I had to answer it because my affinity to Italy right now.
Sure.
And prayers to Italy, man. I got so many friends and basketball players and coaches and people that I really care about being affected by Italy as well, or be affected by the coronavirus in Italy as well. So prayers to Italy. For those that don't know, I've spent the last year and a half on and off going back and forth to Italy, working with different teams, different players, and things of that nature. I was actually, crazy part, when this all jumped off, I was supposed to be in Italy March 8th through the 23rd. I was supposed to go. They actually told me the day before my flight not to come because everything was getting shut down. So I might still be in Italy right now if divine intervention didn't kick in a little. So back to this question, Nathan Herbert basketball. So I think, yes, I think don't be that guy who I get 15 DMs like this a day. Yo, I'm in Italy, I'm in Germany, I'm in Africa, I'm in this, I'm in this. Can you give me a scholarship? That is not the way to do this, okay? So the process works the same for you as it does in American, except you probably got to do a little more work. Get a highlight film against real competition. And what I would do is I would go look at as much college basketball as you can, all of the levels, and I know sometimes being overseas that can be a little confusing because you don't see it or know as much as Americans do, D1, 2, and 3. But look at the levels and see about where you fit in, and then show yourself playing against that level of competition. So many times people say, "Oh, I want to play in America with a scholarship," and then I see the film they sent me, and they're playing like outside against some bums that aren't even playing defense. Like, no college coach is going to take that seriously, and that goes for Americans too. Don't get it wrong, Americans. You don't think you can. Don't go show film of yourself playing against the worst team in the freaking district. They don't want to see that crap. Their motto is, "What did you do, and who did you do it against?" So back to the Italian question, the international question, I would definitely get some services. There's services out there. Make sure you go and look for the right ones, not the ones just trying to take your money, but they can help promote you a little better. If you DM me, I will find the one that I know is really good, that I've seen them get players. But, man, I'm telling you what, you got to be good because American coaches do like Europeans. Now, granted, a lot of American recruiting comes down to athleticism. And, of course, European athleticism is different than American athleticism. But they also like your skill set. They also like the way that you play. You don't play, for lack of better terms, individual club ball at times. You guys play the right way. Yeah, you play the right way. And college coaches like that. Trust me, because they may like the talent of a guy who can go one-on-one 16 times in the game, but it doesn't mean that they're going to let that kid play like that when they get to college. It's just they're going to use that talent for something better. So they like the way you play. They like your discipline. They know that if you're going to come all the way from over there and make that commitment to go that far from your family, not just a couple states over, but a whole ocean, a whole continent, half the world, that you're serious. Great example, actually in Italy, young lady by the name of Julia Buongiorno, and I really hope I don't mess it up. I hope Julia might see this and she'll kill me if I messed it up. But she was actually, what happens in Italy, and you probably know this to my guy out there in Italy, a lot of the better younger players will be on a team of their age, 17U, 18U, whatever that is. And then if their youth program also has a pro team, they may play on that pro team. They might not see much playing time, but they also practice and play, usually ride the bench a little more, but they play. Like guys like Tony Parker did that, right? And these other guys that came up. So she was actually doing that. She was one of the best players in her all the way from 16, 17, 18U. She was one of the better players on her team. And then she also spent a couple years with the pro team. So when she came to me and was like, "Tim, I want to play overseas, college basketball in America," I said, "I think you got a really good shot." I mean, she was playing on a pro team that had De'Erica Hamby, who was just sixth woman of the WNBA. She was playing against other WNBA players there. And even if you're not playing against other WNBA or NBA players or guys like that, if you're playing high enough competition and you can show that on film, there's a good chance they'll take a shot on you. But, you got to do a little extra work more than the Americans do. So if you're willing to put in that work and promote yourself, it's definitely possible.
Nice. Well, yeah, man. Was there any other questions that you saw that you wanted to address before we kind of move on to the next part?
Oh, that was the biggest one right there. Is just I know so many people. I never get to answer that. Like what I just said, I would never take the time to DM because that'd take like 4 hours to write out. And then on top of that, like I told you, most people send me highlights of them playing like their little brother and stuff. So, but I just wanted to get that out there into the world because like there's so many Europeans and just out of non-Americans that hit me up about that, and man, it's so critical to know that stuff too.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about kind of like the training, the fitness, the conditioning type of thing. So now that, everyone's on lockdown, got to be indoors, can't go to the gym, stuff like that. What type of things are you, trying to help your players with to stay physically fit and in shape?
Got you. Well, I think there's a lot of things that players need to think about first and foremost. Obviously, there's a lot of great workouts going on online. I love the way the coaching and trainer world has really huddled around this epidemic and pandemic, and made it a situation where, leveraging the digital world, which imagine if this happened 15, 20 years ago, but we're able to huddle around these players and these athletes and still allow them to get better through the power of technology. I think maybe where things need to get a little better is everybody's trying to find, well, dang, what do we do in a driveway? And I get that, right? Or what do I do without a hoop? And that was my first hurdle as well, is just figuring out how to serve my players and beyond. And I saw a lot of ball handling coming out, and I thought that was good. I saw, maybe a little more calisthenics coming out. I thought that was good. But I think there's so much more that can be taught. I think you can work on your range of mobility and your body movement, which 9 out of 10 players don't have the proper mobility in their body to execute moves the way they should.
Like yoga?
Yeah, I mean, things like yoga. I mean, I am a huge advocate of yoga for basketball players. Don't get me wrong. I'm huge about yoga. So things like that, but even just small stuff where you can triple threat, breaking down your footwork when you got the ball on the bounce, things like that. I think working on your pickups. A lot of players don't get shots off because of their pickups. When I say pickups, being able to set their feet, load their hips, and be athletic going into either a finish or a shot, and then also how well they get to transition the ball from the catch or the dribble to getting it on the rim. So a lot of pickup stuff. And then definitely conditioning. You got to remember, you're not practicing, you're not playing, and there's nothing that simulates that the same. Now, if there were some things I would do that could mimic it the best, if you could get on a punching bag and do rounds, cardio rounds, interval rounds, I would do that. But just do something where your lungs are burning, your legs are exhausted. Jump rope is great. Sprints, not just go jog around the track, but do some actual sprints. I think those things are huge. Mm-hmm. There's more than one way to skin this cat. We just got to be creative about it, the same way we've been with the technology.
Yeah. No, I think it's important, man. I mean, whenever I think about an athlete, working on your ball handling skills, your shooting ability, that stuff is necessary when you're playing games. But one of the athletes that I think about when I think about just physical conditioning is LeBron James.
Yeah.
That guy's always working out. He's in, tip-top shape, working on his muscles, working on his cardio, working on all that stuff because your body is going to, directly affect what kind of player you are. Like you're saying with the cardio and getting your endurance up, someone that can run 10 miles versus someone that only can run 2 miles, that's going to show on the basketball court. The one that has that endurance, the one that can run, the one that is an athlete that's just athletic and fit and in shape, they're going to outperform. So there's a lot of things that you can do that don't necessarily involve, a basketball to help you with your game.
Exactly. And you know what? Maybe you don't get to full game conditioning. And I would push for it, but maybe you don't. But at the same time, if you're the guy or girl who walks into the gym and you're the closest to that, look how much more prepared you look than the next person. And it's not about just how you look, but you do need to present yourself to the coach, because I can tell you every coach right now, especially club coaches, are panicking. They're going, oh, my God. Maybe that's why they rallied around these players so much. But they're going, oh, my God, tournaments might start in May or June, and we're not even going to be in shape. We're not even going to have touched the ball, let alone run our plays, run our press break, run our inbounds, run our whatevers. So you really want to be that player who's already kind of checked that box on the list of things to do to get back in the season whenever it does come, because you never know. This might be done in April. I'm not sure it's looking that way. I really hope some huge turnarounds come, because I would love to be in the gym by May, you know what I mean, and really getting after this. But you don't know how long this is going to last, but you always stay in shape to the best of your ability for sure.
Definitely.
And then why are we not watching tons of film? Why are we not going back in our huddle and crossover accounts and watching our whole freaking season? Watching our whole season. You got nothing but time on your hands. Watch a game a day. You know you're going to be locked down for at least the next 30 days. You know, most high school seasons are roughly around there, that amount, depending on how many playoff games you played, right? So why are you not watching tons of film, or watching film of your favorite player, or watching film of a college team that runs the same system you do in high school? You got to be watching a lot of film, and this is the time to do a lot of this. Players don't like to do that when they can put their feet on the court and play, and I get that, but you can't right now. So you might as well be doing this and building this and becoming a smarter player.
Absolutely, man. Hey, that's a great point, man. Instead of watching different videos and stuff on social media that ain't really helping you with nothing, why not watch a full game's worth of film and try to see what you did good, what you didn't do so good, what other players did good, what other teammates did good, things like that. So that's a very good tip right there, man.
Yeah, I tell my players all the time, even before the whole Corona thing. I tell my players, man, if I had YouTube when I was a kid, we at least would have played D1. I know my work ethic and everything else with the YouTube, knowing, and not just to watch the players, but man, there's a bunch of great trainers beyond myself putting out valuable stuff out there. You know what I mean? New drills, new conditioning stuff, whatever it may be. And you're going to see tons more over these next 30 days. I know I'm doing it. So everybody else is going to be doing it too.
Yep. I guess kind of on that note, man, and maybe, as we kind of wrap up today, what are some things, that you got going on with your training, Spartan Basketball, things like that?
Yeah, so obviously we're 100% digital right now just because of, following and respecting guidelines and restrictions. So what I did is I wanted to put together something that was structured. Again, I saw a lot of great things going online, but it seemed like just a random workout here, a random workout there. And that's never really been my MO, even in the gym. Like, I've always prided myself on us having structure and progression, and everything's moving towards a certain target. I guess that's just what I've always believed in basketball. I know being prior military, kind of, especially infantry, it was always the same thing. So I kind of love that methodology. So my thing was I wanted to create something that would do that as well. And that's why I created the 4-day Beat the Corona Challenge. And basically, little, catchy name to it, but basically it's 4 days of structure, and it includes everything that we've talked about: range of mobility, footwork, explosiveness, hand speed, conditioning, game situations, to whatever degree we could without having a hoop. But it combines all of that. It's 4 days in progressive, and so it's free. Players all they have to do is honestly go to the sites at SpartanPT.com. Spartan and P like player, T like training. .com. A little pop-up will come down, Beat the Corona. All you do is put your phone number in, and I personally text you the workouts every day. There's video demonstrations. There's a download, so you can just look at it. You can look at it and know how many reps you got to do. Everything that's going to go into this. I'm explaining in the video why we're doing things. A lot of the videos I see are great. Again, it's, hey, do this drill, which are good drills. I'm not knocking anybody. I'm not that guy to do so. But this also, you're going to learn why. Hey, we are doing this because when you get back in the gym in that pick and roll, you're going to need it for this. So it's free, 4 days. There's more stuff behind it, but I want to give a free 4-day first and just show love. Be considered the fact that, people's financial situations are a little tight right now as well, but still give everybody an opportunity to get better in their driveway.
Man, that's awesome. So you have a program that you're doing. You said 4 days. It's called Beat the Corona Challenge. It's on your website, Spartan PT. That's Spartan Papa Tango .com, and players can learn more. And I'm sure they can probably go to some of your social media channels as well and learn some more about that as well. Correct?
Absolutely. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. It cut out, so I thought you I didn't mean to cut you off. But no, yeah, absolutely. It'll be all over our social media. Tim Springer, Spartan Basketball, Facebook. Obviously, Coach Springer here on Instagram. Spartan Basketball SA on Instagram. It won't be hard to find, but I just hope players really jump on board and really be a part of this because, A, it's free. It's easy. It goes right to your phone. It texts you. We got players already now posting pictures and videos of them doing the challenge, getting better. Coaches, even Joy Marie, I see you're on here. Shout out to you. You've always been a great support of everything we do. So much great stuff in there that, man, the thing I keep preaching to everybody that, and I think we can close with this is this is going to be over. This is going to be over at some point. And it's hard to see that sometimes because it's frustrating and we're still kind of in this, oh my gosh, what do we do? They took everything away from us type of phase, and the sphere of obviously your health being taken away from you as well. But at some point, this is going to be over, and someone's going to be holding you accountable to what you did during this time. The last thing I would be doing is chilling and trying to kill time. I don't even, like, to me, that sounds, I'm not a person to really kill time to begin with, but to kill time right now is foolish. Now, there's enough hours in the day that in downtime that you probably could kill sometime, but why are you not building with this time? Why are you not leveraging this time to grow? You know what I mean? You don't have to worry about that. I can tell you right now, there's going to be so many players after we finally figure out what the end date of this, all this is, right? They're going to go, oh, I got a week. Oh, my God, everything's going to be back to normal in a week. My coach just texted me. We're going to be practicing again next Wednesday, and I haven't done anything. What the heck were you waiting for? You had nothing but time. You didn't have to go to school. Yeah, you did your digital learning, but it's not nowhere near the amount of time you went at school. You didn't have to go do this. You're not even allowed to go do things. You can't go to the movies. You can't go out to eat. Make the most of your time and be prepared so you're happy with the results you get when this is all done, because it will be done, and it sooner than later, believe it or not. 30 days is not that long. Even if this pushes out to 60 or 90 days, that's not that long. This thing will pass fast, and you're going to, again, be held accountable. Are you ready for your opportunity?
Hey, man, those are some valuable jewels that you just dropped. Thank you for your time, man. And I guess maybe as a closing statement, do you have, like, you know, maybe one statement that you want to just say to the people before we sign off?
Yeah, I would just say stay focused on your goals. You know, back to the statement I just made about leveraging time. I know it's hard. It's frustrating. You might even be a little depressed with your situation. Your favorite thing, your passion got taken from you. But your goals should still be in place. You should still be looking at those every day, and that's what you're using this time for, is to go chase your goals. Go get after your goals. Don't forget about your goals, because that, again, when this is all over, you're going to have every opportunity to go back at your goals full speed. So why are you not doing it now, even though you got to pump your brakes a little bit?
Awesome. Well, hey, Tim, thanks, man, for your time. Again, everybody that's tuning in, go check out Coach Springer at Coach Springer or Spartan Basketball SA on IG. And thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you to everyone that showed up as well. Always a blessing, man. I love what you do, man. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks, man. You too. All
All right,
right.
take care.
Later.